Good morning. I'm Rob Feenstra. I'm a professor of economics and also holder of the C. Brian Cameron Distinguished Chair in International Economics here at UC Davis. I'm also an associate dean of academic affairs in the Division of Social Sciences, and I'm director of the Center for International Data. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Institute of Social Sciences Spring Conference, Recomputing Social Sciences, What Have We Learned Over a Decade? At its yearly conferences, the Institute focuses on discussing and illuminating big, important questions facing social sciences today. Just over a year ago, ISS hosted Making Social Science Transparent, a conference that brought together research from a diverse range of disciplines to confront the so-called replication crisis. That crisis has not yet been averted. P-hacking remains a significant threat to the credibility of social science. Indeed, the American Statistical Association declared just last year that while the p-value can be a useful statistical measure, it is commonly misused and misrepresented. Compared with progress made in other sciences, the social sciences frankly lag behind in their ability to produce credible and replicable results. This is especially problematic in the field of social psychology, but economics is hardly immune from this worry too. At the same time, this is a moment of unprecedented opportunity for researchers as our vast digital footprint is transforming the social sciences from notoriously data poor to abundantly data rich. This is certainly true in my own field of international trade, which was almost exclusively theoretical when I took it in graduate school several decades ago, except for a bit of armchair empiricism, as they called it. The power of personal computers allowed researchers to access the trade flows collected between all countries at a fine level of disaggregation. So since those early days, the use of that data has transformed the field, as well as informed work in communication, political science, and other areas. Today, sources of big data and the ability to process such data means that we can track not only flows of goods between countries, but the flows of information between people. There are almost as many cell phone subscriptions, 6.8 billion, as the 7 billion people on Earth, and a considerable portion of these users leave a record of the economic and social interactions through digital and social media usage. And research by one of our colleagues here at UC Davis shows that the world's technological capacity to store such information grows at some 25% per year, reaching about 5 zettabytes by 2014. This is 5 times more information than all DNA stored in all cells of all humans, and is quickly approaching the amount of information stored by all life on the planet. So indeed, I think we're challenging the biological and even the physical sciences in terms of the information available and our ability to process it. Almost a decade ago was the publication of Computational Social Science, an influential article co-authored by one of our participants that appeared in Science in 2009. And it is time to take a step back and reflect on this revolution. What have we learned? What traditional research approaches are no longer meaningful, and what new questions are we able to ask and answer? How should we restructure higher education curricula in the social sciences to embrace computational social science? What are the roles and responsibilities of the private and public sectors in the new paradigm? And what will social science look like in the future? These are the questions we will tackle today as we look ahead to the next decade of research in computational social science. Before I hand over the floor to my colleague George Barnett, I'd like to thank the Institute for Social Sciences, the Computational Communication Research Lab, and the faculty committee in the Department of Communication for all their hard work in making this event possible. And of course, thank you to all of you for your part in what I'm sure will be a highly productive day. And let me turn the floor over to George. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. It should be noted that Rob provided me data for a recent study that I'm doing on international trade and GMO crops, and he's great. Thank you. As the old guy in the room, It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to UC Davis and this workshop on computational social science. I originally thought of this workshop to celebrate and to publicize the newly established Computational Communication Laboratory, which was envisioned and implemented by two of the Department of Communications and indeed the social sciences bright young scholars, Martin Hilbert, wherever you are, Martin, and Cindy Shen. Cindy Shen, Martin Hilbert, who are the lab's co-directors, Jingwen, where am I? Jingwen Zhang and myself want to thank Robert Bell and the Department of Communication and the Institute of Social Sciences, Joe Dumit, Vicki Austin, and Jeremy Till for their financial and intellectual support, as well as all of today's participants for their contributions. Computational social sciences is important because it represents the future. And as you will see in a few minutes, it is expertly being practiced today. I hope you share my excitement for today's events. Thank you.
So I'm going to say a few words about the organization of our morning. So we invited a diversity of perspectives, computer scientists, engineers, and social scientists to the room today. And as Nosh illustrated his research yesterday, that diversity creates creativity, which I'm very much looking forward to today. So we kind of loosely organized people's presentations into 3 panels. The first panel provides kind of overview perspectives. The second panel are from scholars who do empirical work using big data. And the third panel is generally about experimental approaches and agent-based models. So in order to ensure that everybody can have enough time to talk about their own perspective and their own work, we're going to strictly enforce the 5-minute rule. So Vicki, the assistant director of ISS here, has a cowbell, very Davis. And at the 4-minute, yes, thank you. At 4-minute mark, she's going to ring it once. At the 5-minute mark, she's going to ring it 3 times. And that time, if you do not stop, we'll take the mic away, okay? So we're really going to reinforce this rule. And we asked all our panelists to sit in this front row. And after all the panelists had their 5 minutes, and we'll invite them to sit in front so that on the stage, so that we could open up for discussion.
Hi, I'm Jingwen Zhang. So I'll talk a little bit about the organization in the afternoon. So in the afternoon, all of us will break out into 4 small groups to have focused discussion. And so for 4 important topics for today's workshop. So one is research innovation in computational social science. And second one is higher education and what we think about higher education for computational social science. And we also have another group to talk about private and public sector's roles in doing research with computational social science. And the last group will be talking about the future of social science in the next 50 to 100 years. So in the 2-hour focused discussion, we hope to gather insights from every speaker. So in the end, we can reach at some conclusions and recommendations for computational social science. And it's important to notice that the different small discussion groups will take place in different rooms. So you have to find the specific room location in your program. And each of us will lead one small group discussion. So I will be in the research innovation group. And Cindy will be in the future of the social science. Martin will be in the group for talking about private and public sector's roles. And George will lead the discussion on higher education for computational social science. So then Martin will come and talk about what we hope to get out of this workshop as a collective. Okay.
Thank you. I'm Martin Hilbert. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. So Now, Cindy talked about what we're going to do in the morning. And as you already see, the format is quite unique in a sense that nobody gets to speak longer than 5 minutes. And that has a purpose then, of course. In the afternoon, the workshops, the 4 different working groups also has a purpose. And that purpose at the end focuses on what we have as a final product after that. And of course, being very inspired by this very well-known publication that was conceptualized now almost 10 years ago and published in 2009 on computational social science, we thought, well, why don't we take this opportunity not only to present each other's views, but really work and get something out of that that goes beyond what each one individually can bring to the table. And I'm sure each one of us could right now sit down and write a small opinion piece about the importance of computational social science. And that is extremely impressive that we have this group, that each one of us could do that. And our ambition now is, well, can we even go beyond that and get some results that are maybe counterintuitive, that are really uniquely new and can contribute to this discussion. And we really want to have the ambition to work on that, be it in the morning by listening quickly to more than 20 different perspectives and get the input, and in the afternoon to sit down with Google Docs. We prepared 4 Google Docs, and nowadays that is possible to work collectively on them. And already almost kind of like conceptualized maybe what potentially could be 4 different sections of an opinion piece that hopefully then people will also want to continue after that and finish that up and continue to co-author that piece together. And hopefully we come out with something quite unique that might also be interesting for the wider community. So that's actually the goal, and that's why this kind of like unconventional design of the workshop with very very short presentations, and then with intensive working groups in the afternoon. Okay, thank you very much for that. With that, I give to one of ours, Raisa de Souza, for the first presentation. Raisa.